Hi, I'm Sandra Hawkins, and in this demo I want to show you how to read from a CSV file that was created in the previous demo. So again, CSV stands for comma separated values. So it's basically a number followed by a comma, a number followed by a comma, and it'll open up in an Excel file. You won't see the commas, it'll just, the values will open up in each cell. So what I'm using here is, again, a try with resources statement, so that when I have finished with the resource for reading from the file, it will be closed afterward. It will be closed for me. So what I'm going to use, what object I'm going to use this time is a BufferedReader object. BufferedReader BR, I'm instantiating it here, equals new BufferedReader. There isn't a constructor that takes in the file name. So what I need to do is pass another reader object in here. And the reader object I'm going to pass in that does take a file name is a file reader. So here I have new file reader, and there's one that takes the file name. Now, so just hover over here. It's going to be an exception, unhandled exception, file not found. So it might not be able to find the file that I'm passing in. It mightn't exist, for instance. So what I'm going to put in here is a catch block for file not found. Catch file not found exception E, and if it gets to here, I'm going to just print out to the user file not found, and just for myself there, to print out e.print stack trace, which will give more information about the exception that occurred. Okay. What's wrong with BR there? Okay, another exception there that I haven't dealt with. So because the try with resources statement automatically closes the buffered reader, I need to handle that exception that it mightn't be able to close it. So that's another exception there, IO. So I'm going to put catch here, IO exception E, and print out here, file could not be closed. And again, I'm doing need.print stack trace just to give the programmer more information about why that file couldn't be closed. Just a little bit of information here in catching exceptions. More specific exceptions have to be first and more general ones have to be underneath. And what that means is IO exception is a parent of file not found, so they can't be the other way around, because the parent will be capable of catching an IO exception and any children file not found. So that basically the child classes have to appear first in the catch block. Now I'm going to be using br.readline. That returns a string. When there's no more characters to be read from the file, it's going to return a null. And I need to keep reading lines until it gets to the end of the file, as in when it returns null. So this is a little bit tricky. So what I want to do first of all, I'm declaring there a string for the line that it's going to read from the file. And I need a while loop to keep reading until basically it gets to the end. So the code for reading from the file is using the buffered reader declared on line 38, br.readline. That will return a string, the line of the text, or a null if it's at the end of the line. So firstly, I'm going to assign that to the line variable that I declared on the previous line. I'm going to wrap that in round brackets to make sure that that's the first thing that happens in here. And while that single equals will assign the line that's read to the variable on the left. When that is not equals null, then I know that it has read a line from the file, and then I wanted to print out that line. So that's a little bit tricky there. Read the line from the file, assign it to the variable called line. When that is not null, it's not at the end of the file, and I have something to print out. So what I'm going to do is print it out. Firstly, I'm just going to do a print out here of line. I'm just going to execute this code to show you what that does so far. Currently, this method has not been called anywhere, so up in main, I have the file created. Done that in the previous demo. I'm going to comment that out. And now I want to read from it. So read CSV file, passing the same file name that was used in the previous method. And run that. Okay, so that it is printed out. Now, what I'm going to show you next there is instead of just printing out that one line that's in the file, what I'm going to do is separate these values out to show you how to do that. So it'll only print out 12, 25, and 50. So just for the minute there, that prints out 12, 25, and 50. Right now, I have a line 12, 25, and 50, but I want to separate it out. So there is a method in the string class called split. So line, I have the line variable, dot split. And you pass in a regular expression as a string. I'm not covering regular expressions here at the minute, but a comma. So any time it finds a comma, it's going to break it up and it will store the results in a string array. So at the beginning of this line, I need to say string array. I'll just call that numbers because I know that's what they are. Unfortunately, it'll have each string or each number as a string that it reads from the file. So what's stored in the file is actually strings as opposed to numbers, what we think it is. That's in the text file. The Excel file might be different. Okay, so string array numbers. Now, to print out the contents of that string array, I'm going to use a for loop. So for each loop, so colon, on the right hand side is the name of the array, numbers. On the left hand side is just declare one of what each one is in that array. So I'm just going to call it string num. And now print out here, print out. I'm just going to print out num. Now if I run that, you'll see there that my first printout prints out the full line from the file. Then I have code that splits up the line of text with the numbers in it every time it finds a comma. So basically it'll take 12 as the first array element, 25 as the second array element, and 50 as the third array element. And what I have here then is a for loop that loops through that numbers array that's created on the previous line. As it loops, it stores each value in num. So first time through the loop, num will be 12, next time will be 25, and lastly it will be 50, and they're just printed out one per line. I've print line, so it prints it out followed by a new line. Okay, just to tidy this up, and I'll just summarize there the whole thing. Now, so firstly, to write to the CSV file, I used a print writer, and that has a write method. Print writer is handy because it takes in a string, so I don't need to pass in another file object when I'm creating it. When I'm reading back, I'm using a buffered reader, so there's a print writer. There's no corresponding print reader because print means to write out. Buffered reader for reading in from the file. I can't pass a string into the constructor of buffered reader, so I have to pass another file type. So file writer is being passed in there, and it does take the string for the file name. So BufferedReader has a Readline method, which will return a string of the line from the file, if there is one. If not, it will return null. So if there is a string or null, it'll get assigned to line, and when line is not equals to null, then I know I have something to print out. So firstly, I'm printing out the entire line, and then secondly, I'm looping through and printing out each token or each value, if we skip that line there. It splits up every time it finds a comma. Okay, so that's how to write to and read from a CSV file.